Woohoo!
So there's a popular internet meme.
Oh, okay.
It's been going around for the past, I would say 2 years now, maybe longer.
Uh-huh.
That states just 100 companies are responsible for 71% of global emissions.
Yeah, that's
everywhere.
That's everywhere.
What's the point of this meme?
Don't feel too guilty about using electricity or like taking long showers, like things that like little things that people like are told not to do and that they feel bad about, because the real source of carbon emissions is not you, it's these people that we have no control over.
I think that's absolutely correct. I think that's the intent of those memes. If you were to guess, what would you say that these 100 companies do?
I actually looked it up one time, and it's mainly gas and oil companies, stuff that...
Energy companies.
Yeah, energy companies.
Why do you think these companies are producing energy?
Taking showers, turning the lights on, driving cars around, you know.
The intent of the meme is humans aren't responsible individually. It's these big bad companies. But the companies do what they do because...
of people.
Right. Capitalism is an economic system based on private ownership and, to some degree, profit.
Yes.
So, talk to me about private ownership. Is that the part of capitalism that you don't like?
Private ownership is the fact that people can own companies and can sort of do what they want with them instead of being under complete control by the government.
People
are
allowed to own things.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I definitely think it's a good thing that people are allowed to own things. But I think that when we get down into the bigger things that people are owning, massive corporations that people own, and then use that to obtain a truly absurd amount of money and capital, and thus, under the system, a certain amount of control over people who have less of that capital, I think that is where the issue forms with me.
Most of the people who talk against capitalism on the internet make a strong distinction between individuals and corporations in terms of their culpability. The meme itself speaks to that. Do you know the history of corporations and why we have them?
No, what is it?
Corporations formed so that multiple people could come together and pool their talents and resources. And it designates, through a contractual agreement, how each person benefits from what they collectively produce. Does that in itself fundamentally problematic?
That should not be illegal. That does not sound inherently morally bad.
The second part of capitalism is that people, or the companies that they collectively form, are able to sell their goods or exchange their goods to other people or collectives of people for more than it costs them to create.
Yes.
Profit. What do you think about that? Is that something that is inherently problematic or by definition problematic?
No. There's nothing inherently problematic about profit, because under the economic system, the ultimate goal is that money gets passed around in a way so that everyone profits.
So exchanging goods is not a problem?
No. Right. It's because humans are social creatures, and so we can cooperate to get each other what we want.
Let's talk about values. What value, if there were any one, would you say capitalism is founded upon?
Freedom.
That's the freedom for individuals to make their own choices.
Yeah.
With what they do with their lives and their possessions.
Absolutely.
Freedom is inherently important to most human beings.
Yes. Personal freedom in terms of things like being able to choose like what clothes I'm wearing, like what I'm doing with my hair, like my personal, bodily choices. Like with capitalism, or bringing capitalism to it, with what I want to buy with my money, it gives you a sense of control over yourself, where you're like, I get to choose with my money, which I own, what I want from that.
Let's say that you go to school, you learn how to program, and you spend 5 years writing a video game.
Yes.
Do you think that you should have the right to do with that video game what you want?
I think that if I write a video game, I have the choice whether to keep it to myself or put it on the market, whether to, like, I don't know, give to friends as like a free thing or sell for money, and or to sell the rights to that to anyone else.
So from an individual perspective, you definitely have the right to do what you want to with what you create. You think that's important?
Yeah.
Even from a values perspective, there's something inherently important about the free market. It's about freedom.
Yes.
Who controls capitalism?
Within the economic structure of capitalism, the people that hold the most capital have the most control over others. And then who controls capitalism kind of on the outside is the government, who puts regulations in place.
Is there anyone else within capitalism who has any power?
In the example of, say, strikes, the collective working power has much more power over those on top if they all choose to work together, because they are the ones that are creating the goods and services.
As part of capitalism, labor has power.
Yes.
Ultimate power.
Ultimate power, absolutely.
So capitalism itself isn't inherently anti-labor.
No.
We discussed who controls capitalism.
Yeah.
And you said people with money or capital, government, and people who do work, labor.
Yeah.
Who controls government?
Ideally, it would be the people. But in reality, especially under capitalism, the government certainly controls capitalism, but as the government is run by people, all who have a vested interest in getting themselves capital, the government is also sort of controlled by capitalism. That means that the people in the government are not necessarily thinking out for people as a whole, but instead themselves personally.
Sounds a lot like capitalism on some level, right?
Yeah.
Well, fundamentally then, would you say that the government is more trustworthy or individuals?
Individuals should be trusted with definitely a certain amount of freedom, but the government is put in place to control those individuals' actions so that we have things like, laws. Yeah, that would mean that the government would have a certain amount of control over people, and that they would be more trustworthy because they are meant to think for the people instead of to think for one person. But as all things, it does get more complicated when we put it into the real world, when it intersects with reality, and those governments are not necessarily controlled by people that have everyone's best interests at heart, but are more selfish than a government should be.
We hope that you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please consider checking out the next one in the series.
Or some of our other series on philosophy and life.
We upload videos every Friday, so don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. See you next week.